Hey, how's it going? Gareth James here for mttpokerschool.com, and this is the hand of the week. Now, once again, this hand comes from the Sunday home game, and we're down to the final three. We see that Muff Dekagan goes ahead and opens here two big blinds. The blinds are 350, 700 with an 85 chip ante. 3 players left, as we said, and we see the min raise from the button. And now it's over to Paddy Jim with the pocket nines, and he just decides to call here. Now, I think this is a very, very clear mistake. Nines is just too good in this situation. Really, when you have pocket nines here and the button opens, nines feels as good as aces. It's a really strong hand in this situation, simply because Muff's range should be pretty wide. Now, maybe you're thinking, okay, he can't be too wide because he has to call the big blind. But on the whole, his range is going to be, very, very wide, and nines is doing very well against that range. So we definitely want to go ahead and 3-bet for value here. The thing I want to go through today is not so much what happens after he calls, but what he should be thinking about when it comes to 3-betting for value and 3-betting as a bluff. So I've loaded the hand into Holdem Resources Calculator, and this is the equilibrium solution. So, if the game was just played pre-flop, there was no flatting, which we obviously, this is a great example that shows you that flatting does take place pre-flop. But if it was just focusing on the game just being raised and 3-bet and 4-bet and things like that, then this is the solution. And it thinks that Muff can raise with 42% and Paddy can raise with 22%. And then Muff needs to go and jam roughly 15% and Paddy calls off with 16%. Now, it's not that realistic. So when we're thinking about the kind of hands we want to 3-bet for value here, what we should be looking at is actually what kind of hands is my opponent going to shove when I 3-bet. So what we're going to do is we go down to the 4-bet range here, Muff's range, and we open this up and we say, okay, do we think he's going to go ahead and jam all of these hands? And if we do, then that's fine, and therefore Paddy can just play the equilibrium strategy in this spot. But actually, I think, he's probably going to be going for a range that's slightly different. Now, the widest probably that we're looking at in this situation is probably something like this. I think this is going to do pretty well. All of these hands are going to have... they're going to do pretty well against a calling range. A lot of Paddy's range is going to be ace king, ace queen, ace jack suited to call off here. So the pairs are going to be doing all right, and therefore we want to have the stronger ace x hands as well in our range. So let's just go with this range to begin with, just to kick things off. And we're going to run the calculation again. And what we're going to look here now is at Paddy's calling range versus that. So you can see that he can comfortably call off with 5s plus ace queen off, 10-9 suited, all of these kind of hands as well. But some of these are going to be flats pre-flop. Yeah, they're not always going to be 3-bets in the first place. But I think, the very top of this range needs to be a 3-bet call. And you can see how profitable it is if Muff is going ahead and jamming all of these hands. Now, just as an aside, pocket 9 is definitely in there. We can definitely 3-bet call in this situation. But let's instead think that actually, I'm not sure that he is going to shove all of these hands. Yeah, maybe he just stops at like 7s, or maybe he only goes with ace queen. Maybe it's just a stronger range. Well, let's run it again and see what sort of effect that has on Paddy's range. So Paddy now can call. You can 3-bet call with pocket 8s plus ace queen suited. And you can see pocket 8s, I mean, it's still pretty profitable here, but it is at the bottom end of this. Ace queen suited is 1.21, just too good to pass up on. But you can see now that ace queen offsuit, not the best hand in the world to go ahead and 3-bet call here. So what do you do in this situation? If you feel like you have a pretty strong handle on Muff's jamming range here, and therefore that ace queen off is not a call, well, now you can think, okay, what do I do with ace queen offsuit? And I think ace queen offsuit suddenly becomes a really, really good 3-bet fold. Now, ordinarily, I would 3-bet call with ace queen in this situation because I feel like my opponent's going to be shoving wide enough, and we already looked at that. But if you feel like he's playing on the tighter side versus a 3-bet, and he's going to be shoving a tighter range, then we have to be more disciplined with the ace queen and actually just let it go. But given that it has great blockers to his shoving range, so we've got things like ace king, ace queen, pocket queens, pocket aces that we block, it's a really nice spot to go ahead and 3-bet bluff against a player that isn't shoving as wide as he should be. So those are the kind of considerations that I'd be thinking about in this situation. But you can see that 9s in this spot is still really, really good. The only times I guess we want to be folding 9s is if we honestly believe that our opponent's range is just ridiculously tight. And this program is going to allow us to put that in, and we can see now, okay, we can only be going with jacks plus and ace king in this situation. So a few takeaways here. One, 9 is just too good to just call in this spot, and the other thing is your 3-bet for value range, a 3-bet and essentially getting it in range, will be a factor or a function of your opponent's jamming range, your 4-bet jamming range. And if your opponent is just not jamming wide enough, then there's lots of those cusp hands like the ace queen offsuit hands, and the pairs suddenly don't become calls. So in that situation, we're then looking for the hands that are going to block our opponent's jamming range. And whilst it might seem really, really nitty in this spot to 3-bet fold ace queen off, you can see from the program that it's actually correct if you've got the range correct. Now, obviously, if you're incorrect, you could be making a huge mistake here. If Muff is just shoving super wide, like we started with right at the start of the video, then we're making a mistake. But definitely go ahead, use the software, try out some different ranges, and you'll suddenly start to see that a lot of hands that you may have been calls suddenly become 3-bet calls instead. Just for I said that I didn't want to look at the post flop, but we'll just look at it anyway. We see a c-bet. I think this is fine for a 3rd pot, and we see a call. I think this is fine, and then it's just going to check down. And I think Paddy could potentially bluff. Sorry, he could potentially value bet in this situation, but checking is absolutely fine as well, and that's what happens. And in these spots where you get to realize more equity, because maybe the button isn't bluffing the turn and the river as much, then it becomes fairly easy to be able to get this hand to showdown. So Paddy takes it down as played, but I definitely would have 3-bet and called here. Now, if there was an ICM situation, I think that Paddy's much better off just jamming, and it seems like quite a lot. 30 big blinds is a lot of chips to 3-bet jam, but there are certain situations where that's just going to be the highest EV play, and we're always looking for the highest EV play. So yeah, if this was the last 3 left in a big field MTT, then we don't want to be 3-bet calling. Because the general idea with ICM is that we want to be the one shoving and putting the pressure on our opponent rather than the one calling. And what's going to happen is we 3-bet 9s and then we get shoved on. The value of 9s just shrinks, it just shrivels up, and it's just really, really grim. So I would definitely just go ahead and shove 9s in this spot if it was a final table. Now, this is a final table, but there's only one prize up for grabs. So that's why we looked at the calculation in chip EV mode rather than ICM. So definitely just go ahead, 3-bet, get it in. 9s for me is just the nuts here. And I'm happy to call a 4-bet jam should Muff decide to do that. Thanks for checking out this video. If you would like free strategy articles and YouTube videos and free podcast episodes delivered straight to your inbox, then head over to mttpokerschool.com right now and sign up for our mailing list. I'll even throw in a free push fold guide and opening hand cheat sheet. What are you waiting for? Head to mttpokerschool.com right now.